Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mrs. Fry from John Marshall High School. I've decided to prepare a couple videos for you on solving equations. I've got two different types of equations we're going to talk about today. The first type is a one-step linear equation, and the second type is the two-step linear equation. And make sure you stay tuned until the very end of this video for your homework assignment. Yes, there will be homework. At the top here, you can see my contact information. If you have any questions, my email address is jlfry@k12.wv.us, and you can also text me on the Remind app at Mrs. Fry A is my class code. So the first type of problem is the one-step linear equation. This is where you want to find x or find y, solve for the missing variable. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to do the opposite of whatever is being done to that variable. The variable is just the letter. Okay, so because this says x minus 5 equals 3, the opposite of subtracting 5 would be to add 5 to both sides. So right underneath of the negative 5, you just want to add 5, and then right underneath of the negative 3, add 5. And then I just draw a line under there. So then I can see negative 5 plus 5, that'll cancel and be 0. So x equals negative 3 plus 5, which is 2. So that's the answer. There you have it. X equals 2. For the next problem, I have 7 plus y equals 11. We have 7 being added to the variable. So do the opposite of adding 7, which would be subtract 7 from both sides. So you want to make sure you line it up 7 minus 7, and then line up 11 minus 7. So 7 minus 7 is canceled, which means y equals, oops, that's crazy looking. Y equals 11 minus 7, which is 4. So there you have it. The answer to number 2 is y equals 4. Moving right along. Two more problems. These are also one-step linear equations. It's just going to take one step to find out what the variable equals. If 7x equals 21, you want to do the opposite of multiplying 7 times x, which would be to divide both sides by 7. So draw a line underneath both sides like a division bar, and we're going to divide both sides by 7. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. That cancels, which means x equals 21 divided by 7, which is 3. And that's your answer. X equals 3. If you want to check your work as you're going, this one's a really easy one to check as you go, because we could take what x equals 3 and sub it back into the original problem. 7 times 3 equals 21. So you can see that that does indeed work out. And then the last problem I have for you guys for the one-step equation is negative m equals 10. So you want to completely get this variable by itself. It has this negative sign attached to it. So in order to get rid of that negative sign, you want to do the opposite of multiplying by negative 1, which would be to divide both sides by negative 1. So that cancels out the negative, which makes this m equals negative 10. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys for one-step linear equations. I feel like that was a good variety of examples. Now let's move on to two-step linear equations. Okay, so for my two-step linear equations, you can see the problems are a little bit lengthier. I have 4x plus 2 equals negative 18. So just like the title says, this is going to take 2 steps. And that first step is always going to be to either add or subtract on both sides, okay? And we want to add or subtract the number that's not with the letter. So if I have 4x plus 2, okay, remember we're trying to undo whatever is being done to that letter. So I want to undo the plus 2. So the opposite of adding 2 would be to subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, so I just line that up. 2 minus 2 is 0. Negative 18 minus 2 would be negative 20. Okay, then what do I do about the 4x over here? I'm just going to carry that down and make it 4x equals negative 20. then there's just one more step. I'm still trying to get that x by itself. So the opposite of 4 times x would be to divide both sides by 4. Divide both sides by 4. So 4 divided by 4 cancels, which makes this x equals negative 20 divided by 4, which is negative 5. X equals negative 5 is the solution. Okay, problem number 2. 3x equals x plus 22. This problem has variables on both sides, so it's a little bit different from your traditional looking two-step equation. If you have variables on both sides, the first thing you need to do is try to get all of the variables onto one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract x on both sides. Make sure you're lining up the x's underneath of the other x's, so x minus x. The reason I'm doing this is so that x minus x is 0. 3x minus x is 2x, and that's going to equal 22. We just carry down the, oh, that's crazy. Carry down the 22. And then the last thing you want to do, just divide both sides by 2. So x equals 22 divided by 2, which is 11. Circle it, that's your answer. Moving right along, the next problem has a good bit of negatives in it. Sometimes negatives freak people out, but you just still want to follow the order of the steps, which would be first. If I have plus 13, we would want to subtract 13 from both sides. Minus 13, minus 13. Just make sure you're lining it up right underneath of the other constant numbers. We're not messing with the x yet. So just carry down the negative 5x. 13 minus 13 cancels, and that's going to equal negative 47 minus 13. Both of these numbers are negative, so you're actually going to be adding these numbers together. 47 plus 13 is 60, but because they're both negative, we make it negative 60. Then the last thing you would want to do is just divide both sides by negative 5. Okay, so negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1. That cancels, which makes this x equals negative 60 divided by negative 5, which is 12. So x equals 12 is your answer. Circle it. That's it. And finally, this last example that I have prepared for you today is 2/3 x equals negative 10. This is not your traditional looking two-step equation. However, it is a two-step equation because it takes 2 steps to solve it. The first thing I like to do on this type of problem is get rid of that fraction. The way we get rid of fractions is we're going to multiply both sides by the denominator. The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction. So multiply both sides by 3. I put the 3 in parentheses on both sides. Okay, so 3 times 2/3 makes the 3's cancel. Okay, that's going to cancel out. So all we're left with is a 2x, and that's going to equal negative 10 times 3, which is negative 30. Then the last thing you have to do is divide both sides by 2. X is going to equal negative 30 divided by 2, which is negative 15. Circle it. That's your answer. Okay, so that's all of the examples that I have for you today. And finally, I've got 4 problems for homework. What I want you to do is I want you to do all 4 of these problems on a piece of paper. Put your name on the paper, put the date on the paper, and then you can text me your answers on the Remind app. I've got my contact information right here at the bottom of the page. Okay, so I hope you guys are having a good day and good luck with this. If you need any help, you can send me an email or text me on Remind. Bye.